Oh, hello there. Welcome to the lab where we are studying how the 16 personalities interact with each other. I am Scientist FJ. You might know me from having discovered the element FJsium. So, how do the 16 Myers-Briggs personalities interact with each other? This is something everybody wants to know. If you get an ENTP and an ISFJ together, what's gonna happen? Or let's say an INFJ and an ESTJ. What's the interaction gonna be like? So today we're going to answer this burning question so you can understand why ISTPs might always be annoyed with you, or why you're accidentally offending the ENFPs in your life. So the way we're gonna talk about type interactions really comes down to the decision-making functions, which are thinking or feeling. Like, to me, this is really the most significant difference, and we're gonna look specifically at the last two letters of each type and how those types interact with all the other types. And before we get into it, of course, the way I'm gonna be describing everything in this video is gonna be very broad, perhaps to the point where it might sound cartoonish. So in real life, it's a lot more subtle than how I may be describing it, but these are the general principles that you should be aware of. All right, let's start with the TJ types. So all the personality types that have TJ as the last two letters. TJ types have extroverted thinking. It's also called TE. So when these types are interacting with others, they're often going to be focusing on how do we get something done? How do we get results that we all can experience? How can I help other people get something accomplished? These types realize we all gotta work together, baby. So of course, when you get two TJ types together, their interactions will often center around helping each other out, helping a brother out, if you will. And only after the work is done can they just chill. But the TJ types have more potential to clash with the other types in their interactions. For the FP type, they'll sort of get the TJ's angle here, because FPs have extroverted thinking just like the TJ types, though they don't prefer it. They prefer introverted feelings. So the FPs will be like, aw, crap, there is so much work to do. These TJs are making me do all this work. Maybe I'll do some of it, okay, but I don't really want to do it. I think in general, the FP types will get along best with the TJs in their interactions because of their shared thinking and feeling functions. They both have extroverted thinking and introverted feeling. Okay, but then when we move on, things get a little bit more rocky. So when a TJ type starts to talk to a TP type, stuff gets awkward. The TP types don't have extroverted thinking. They have introverted thinking, also known as TI. So TPs are trying to figure things out on their own. And then once they figure it out by themselves, they'll then want to work on it by themselves. So when you get a TJ type coming along telling a TP type, hey, let's work together, let's figure this out, let's start checking things off a checklist together, that really irritates the introverted thinker types. Even when a TJ type comes along to help and is like, hey, TP type, I figured out this problem for you, here you go, here's the answer, I did the work for you, the TP types get upset, like, hey, I don't want your help, okay? I wanted to do it by myself. Okay, then the TJs and the FJs. The FJ types prefer extroverted feeling, also known as FE. They want to maintain harmony emotionally. They may go along with the TJ types and be like, okay, yeah, will this make you happy if I work with you and do all this work you're saying we gotta do together? Okay, let's do that. But then the FJ types might secretly resent it because to them, it's not the highest priority to get stuff done and check things off a list the way it is for the TJs. To the FJs, the more important thing is how do we all establish a good atmosphere and ambiance together, like just a good feeling for everyone. And so they will be rubbed the wrong way when a TJ type comes in and is like, hey, here's all the work we gotta do, let's get to work, guys. In the next part of the video, we're gonna look at the rest of the personality types and their interactions together. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Let's go over the rest of the type interactions. Okay, now we're going to talk about the TP types and their interactions with all the types. And you might realize, if you are a logical person, that there seems to be some overlaps here, because we talked about the TJ types interacting with the TP types. But as I go through, I will be shedding a bit more light on each interaction, so it's not just going to be a retread of everything I've talked about before. Just so you know. So as we talked about before, the TP types prefer introverted thinking. So their mind is always working to figure out the world around them. However, they're not always going to be talking about it. It's not a shared thing. That's why it's introverted. The TPs will pick out the things that they are really interested in and the things that they really want to accomplish, and they'll zero in on those things, not wanting help from others. Likewise, and here's an interesting thing, they might see how they could solve something for someone else and not do it, not give them the answer. They just won't say anything because logic, the thinking is personal. It's not my place to go telling someone else how they should solve their issues. So when TPs interact with other TPs, they got the TP party. If they're just chilling, they'll enjoy discussing things that interest them. Though, if they are way out of touch with their feeling side, it could just devolve into them arguing with each other or like shutting down. If two TP types have to work together, they'll want to find ways to divide the work so they can basically work alone and not have to actually collaborate on what they're doing. Okay, so when the TP types are interacting with the TJ types, the TJs might get frustrated with how closed off the TPs are with their thinking. The TJs might view it like the TPs are being selfish. They don't want to help out. A TJ type could directly ask a TP type, hey, how do you think this should be done over here? What's your logic? Could you shed some light on this, please? And the TP type still might be kind of cagey and not want to explain things for the other type. Then when the TP types are interacting with the FP types, the introverted feelers, it's also known as FI. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. It could go a couple different ways. Because both of these types have a strong identity, they're not really going to feel the need to press the other too much. They're not reliant on feedback from others the same way that J types are. So they might interact in a fairly passive manner. But it's also possible that the FP types could react in a way where it's like, why are the TP types so focused on doing their own thing? It's not even something that I personally value. Because if the FP types don't personally value what the TP type is interested in, they might not want to interact at all. They might be like, I can't relate to this. I don't know what you're doing. Goodbye. When the TP types are interacting with FJ types, I think there is a lot of room for understanding. The FJ types have introverted thinking just like the TP types do, though the FJs don't prefer it, they prefer extroverted feeling. So the TPs will be going along focused on figuring out their own problems, and the FJs will be like, that's cool that you're doing that introverted thinking thing, but have you thought about what value this brings to the rest of us? And the TPs probably won't like that. But I think when these types interact, they can help balance each other out. Okay, now we're talking about the FP types and how they interact with the other types. As I said before, they prefer introverted feeling. So they're always talking in terms of what they think is valuable and important. You know, the FP types really live by their own values. Now, when it comes to the FP types, they keep their values close to the vest. So they're not usually shoving things down other people's throats because they realize their values are their values. It's like an individualistic thing. They're not going to insist directly that you conform to their values because they realize, okay, we just have different values. My values are the correct ones, but I'm going to let someone else have the values that I don't have, and mine will win out in the end. My priorities will prove to be more important if I just stick with them. And so the FP types, when they're interacting with one another, will understand that everyone's values are their own values. They get it. They're not going to try to shove it down each other's throats. When FP types talk to FJ types, the extroverted feelers, that's when things can get weird. Because the FJ types want to find harmony, they are more likely to try to get everyone to have the same values. It might seem counterintuitive at first, like they want harmony, but they are willing to cause problems in order to get that harmony. So FJ types are going to be asking a lot of questions of the FP types to figure out, what do you feel? What are your inner values? And the FJs might even go so far as to challenge the FP types and try to convince them that you got it wrong. Your values are wrong. You should really change what you value to something else. You should prioritize these other things. And the FP types will be like, okay, please stop. When the FP types are talking to the TJ types, who also have introverted feeling, but they don't prefer it, that can get the TJ types a little bit upset. They'll be like, yeah, values and stuff, what's important, whatever. We don't need to think about that. That doesn't matter. What matters is getting work done. So you can see how those interactions could be a little strained, though the TJ types do understand the FP types to a degree. And the FP types, when they talk to the TP types, that's gonna be a big cross up, because the TP types are like, why are you even talking about what you value? Why do I care? Though, as I said earlier, these types could also have a more passive interaction because they both can be very closed off. Then you get the FJ types and their interactions with the other types. So as I mentioned, they're going around and they're trying to get everyone on the same page with feeling. So when FJ types are interacting with other FJ types, they totally get it. They're like, yeah, we need to talk about what's important, how we like things, what our values are. We've got to hash all that out. We've got to talk about our emotions, how we're feeling, so that we're all more in harmony with each other. When the FJ types start interacting with the TP types, the TPs are like, the feelings, that doesn't matter as much. We're trying to do our own individual work here. That's what's matters. We can make everyone happy and all that crap later. The TP types are like, first we work on whatever it is we're doing by ourselves, and then we can provide value to others. Whereas the FJ types are the reverse of that. Like, we don't have a lot of work to do. We just have to make each other happy. When the FJ types start talking to the FP types, there can be a lot of misunderstandings. The FP types are like, why are you talking about all this stuff so much? It's like, dude, we are feelers too, but we don't need to talk about it all the time. Like, it's not a group thing. My feelings are my feelings. What I value is what I value. And yeah, to me, it's the most important thing in the world, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be talking about it all the time with everyone else to make sure we're on the same page. Yeah, feelers unite and all that, but no. And then when the FJ types are interacting with the TJ types, it can be a real cluster bomb. The TJ types are like, why are we focusing on how everyone else feels? Why do we care? That's irrelevant. That's like the least effective way of accomplishing anything. TJ types probably look at all the feelers, but especially the FJ types, as kind of like time wasters. It's like, dude, what are you doing? We got some stuff here we gotta do, and you're hugging it out and buying people ice cream cones to make them happy. It's so dumb. It's such a waste of time. And that can leave the FJ types feeling hurt because they're just trying to make everyone happy, and ironically, in the process, they made the TJ types upset. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out my sponsor, You're My Type, in the link down below or in the app stores. And leave me a comment if you have questions about the 16 personalities. Watch this video here about the 16 personalities and how productive or not productive they are. Or check out the whole playlist right here and pick a different video to watch. And until next time, stay cool and attractive.